And we continue on to another part within my vinyl collection. This is now part 14 within the series, and we're just about to finish up the Ds within my collection. And yeah, I would say out of all the parts so far within the series, this part has the most bangers, so it's going to be quite fun to go through this. But yeah, other than that, what's going to be playing in the background is the debut album by Mark Grove. I think is the right way to say it. It's a German metal band that blends both first wave black metal and traditional heavy metal. So it's kind of like Master's Hammer or Root mixed with like Sereth Ungol. Like, it's really cool and it has some stellar riffs. You can get the LP variants of this if you're from the States like myself at Nihilistic Noise Propaganda. Alright, so in the last part we ended it with Diabolical Masquerade with Nightwork, and there were 4 full lengths and I ended on the 3rd one. So we're continuing on this part with the one other record that I couldn't squeeze it into that part, and that would be Diabolical Masquerade with the last album he ever did for it, that being Death's Design. It's a concept album, and I was always confused with this because with the artwork right here it says and shows Death's Design, but right above it says Original Motion Picture Soundtrack, and I thought there was actually a movie called Death's Design, and there isn't. And he's like, he really put a lot more thought into the concept with this album, because the track listing is quite different too. There's apparently 61 parts and 20 movements right here, and a lot of these tracks range from like a minute to like 20 seconds in between, and I don't know, it's like, it's weird, this album. It's not really the one I play all that much. I would definitely say out of all 4 Diabolical Masquerade full lengths, this one's easily the most experimental and quite the hard pill to swallow, but at the same time, I really enjoy it. I don't know, it's so weird of an album, and I don't know. Blake can put way more thought into the concept, I would say. But yeah, it still has like that blend of symphonic black metal and melodic black metal going back and forth with each other, but just a bit more sporadic, as you can tell with these tracks being a minute to 20 seconds in between in song lengths. But yeah, thankfully Peaceville did a repress for this, so you don't have to pay stupid prices for the first press, so if you want it, get it at Peaceville. As for the later on packaging, you have the artwork, backside, printed inner sleeve, so side 1 and side 2. And this LP variant comes on crystal clear vinyl. Second up within this vinyl collection is the debut full length by Die Verbannten Kinder Evas. This is an Austrian neoclassical darkwave project, as it's labeled, and it's basically the side project to the guys from Summoning. Both Selenius and Protector were active with this project during the mid-90s, and it also has vocals done by the sister of Protector on here, which is really cool. And yeah, basically songwriting-wise, it's literally identical to Summoning, only there's no harsh vocals or guitars. So if you enjoy all of the things that makes up Summoning that isn't the black metal stuff, you'll instantly, click with this album, because the track on here, the Serpent's Voice, it's the second song on here, is so gorgeous, and I love that track. The piano work and the vocals done by both Protector and his sister, it is just so incredible. I love that track. The only thing that's quite odd to talk about with this record right here is that this was a birthday gift from an ex-girlfriend. So I guess my question to you guys is, if anyone collects, any type of physical media out there, CDs, tapes, vinyl, whatever, and you get gifts from, an ex-girlfriend or boyfriend, and, you guys break up, obviously, since they're, your ex, do you still keep the said format or LPs, or do you get rid of them? Because I always feel kind of odd, going through my collection and seeing this, knowing that it's a birthday gift from an ex. I don't know, maybe I'm just really procrastinating too much on this release just because of that aspect. But anyway, as for the label and packaging, this was put out through Temple of Darkness. And Temple of Darkness is a really awesome label. They don't usually do that many releases, but when they do, they go above and beyond with the packaging. It's just that their price tags for a lot of their LPs are eesh, quite steep, but are totally worth it. And this right here is nowhere near like something that's cheap. Like, it's really expensive retail wise. So as you can see, it comes like in this tote bag right here. So you just basically got like the band logo, and then you take out the LP, and here is the artwork for this album. Love the artwork, by the way. And here's the backside for it, again, put up through Temple of Darkness. And yeah, as I stated, the Serpent's voice, that track alone is going to sell you on it. Other great tracks on here are Darkened Skies, Beneath the Veil of the Ocean, and May No Tears Stain This Holy Ground are just glorious tracks that are just surreal sounding. It's a really awesome album overall. Maybe that's me being a summoning fanboy talking about this, but the songwriting on here is just absolutely stellar. But yeah, other than that, it comes with a lot. So you have the 2 LPs, both black, not going to show you that. Gatefold that has the band right there, along again with the band logo. As well too, it's a booklet stapled inside, so you have all the lyrics and artwork to go along with it, which is really cool. As for the other contents, it comes in this kind of like envelope, again with the band logo. Temple of Darkness on the back side, and there's a lot of stuff within it. It comes with these incense sticks, which I've never taken out of the package. I've had this for like now maybe 2 years. I've kept it in there just to keep it as mint as possible, but yeah, it comes with that. Another booklet, again with the band logo and just artwork of all different stuff, which is really nice. Pretty got like a little bit of like a gothic kind of like edge to it, along with band pictures of the one time they did a live performance. A certificate of its limitation, mine is 259 out of 500. And finally, a DVD of, again, the one time they did a live performance back in 1996, which I've never taken out of it. I mean, you can find it basically on YouTube, which is why I've always kept this sealed. Call me a nerd, but I just really want to keep this as mint as possible. Oh boy, I get to talk about this band again and this album. And that would be Diapsiquir with their album Anti. About a year ago, I made a video called The Strangest Black Metal Band, and it was all about this album and this band, and I still stand by it 100%. This is the weirdest, strangest, and wildest project I've ever heard that is within the realms of black metal. That basically it's like as if these drugged out, schizophrenic, madmen decided to make a black metal album. That's basically what Diopsicor is, and it's just so insane because it's impossible, and I stand by this so much to the day I die. It's like there's no way you can listen to this album and think, wow, that was predictable, wow, that made sense. Like, it's so weird, the songwriting, because nothing makes sense. Nothing seems like it adds up to anything. It's like it's going to be fast one moment, slow the next moment, it's going to be an interlude, then it's going to be fast again. It's like literally, I can't stress it enough, it's basically like legitimate schizophrenic people made this, and it's like a work of art in the most twisted, weirdest way possible. That I know I said it once on my Facebook, that this is equivalent to heroin if it's music. That's basically what this album is, and it's honestly like the most twisted, demented way you can make art within music itself, in my personal view. And another thing too that I have just nothing but respect for Diapsiquir, it's not their intention, but I think it's just so awesome that they do this, is when it comes to pissing off the black metal purists out there, usually it's bands like Ghostbath or Death Heaven, or I don't know, like all the pretty kind of like sad boy, it's not true black metal type of stuff that combines like post-black metal or black metal and shoegaze, that a lot of purists will just shit on because it's not their traditional sense of what they consider black metal. Whereas Diapsiquir, they still piss off the purists, but this ain't no pretty type of stuff that you would get from the pretty black metal bands. It's just that fucking odd and that fucking weird that it pisses off purists. And for that, Diopsicor are fucking legends. That if you can piss off the purists just by how odd you are, you've got nothing but respect in my books. Another thing I want to add with this album to talk about with its music is, again, I can't stress it enough to just say it one more time, it is the strangest black metal album ever, because all the different sounds you're going to get in this album is just insane. Because look at this, look at that. That is the guest list for this giant laundry list of all different people contributing, all different types of electronics, vocal spots, violins. There's like 5 different people here adding in different types of synthesizers and electronics. You got guitarist guest spots, vocalist guest spots. Like, again, it's just so fucking insane, and I just love this album so much because I've listened to this album at least like a couple of dozen times, and each time I do, I discover something new about it because there's just so much going on here that it's impossible to listen to this album like 2 or 3 times and absorb all the different sounds and textures you'll get out of it. It's definitely an album that's meant to be listened to, probably drugged out of your mind with heroin, but also meant to be listened to multiple times to really absorb just everything going on within this. As for the layout and packaging, you have artwork right here. Pretty sure it's one of the members as a child for whatever fucking reason. Again, backside with track listings, and again, that laundry list of guest spots. Comes on a gatefold with just artwork that makes literally no fucking sense. Standard black vinyl, but does come with this insert sheet with lyrics right here on one side, and the same deal on the other. Next up is going to be Disclose with their full-length Tragedy. Now, I am not that crazy for punk music. I don't really know that much about it, but from what I've seen and heard from the punk scenes all around the world is, it seemed like with the US punk scene, it was more rugged and angry towards society. The UK punk scene had more of like a middle finger type of approach to authority and the Queen and stuff like that when it started out in the late 70s. But yet the Japanese punk scene just seems so angry and harsh that a lot of them seem to take influence from Discharge with that whole like crust punk sound, but just make it harsher and more abrasive, that it almost borderlines on the sounds of grindcore to an extent, but you know, obviously still having a strong grasp on the roots of crust punk. And Disclose is a great example of it, and probably one of the more respected and recognizable names within the whole Japanese punk scene. And yeah, nothing really fancy here. It's just ugly, aggressive, noisy crust punk that definitely fits the appetite for me, and that's really about it. I mean, again, I don't know much about punk music, and I'm not going to try to be like this wannabe music historian here that a lot of other people try to do. That, yeah, I mean, if you want to get into Japanese punk, Disclose is a great name to check out. But other than that, you have artwork, backside with the track listings, standard black vinyl, but comes with a lyric sheet and a band photo with a thank you note, basically just telling every single type of authoritative figure to go fuck themselves. Moving on next to probably one of the most respected and beloved names within grindcore as a whole, and that would be Discordance Axis. This is their full-length Jeho. Yeah, this album right here is probably the most unappreciated and underrated release within their discography, because so many people gravitate towards the inalienable Dreamless as their magnum opus, and it's the only thing that matters within their discography. And though it is an incredible album, I do still feel like this album right here, Jeho, is still very unappreciated because it's probably the more rugged and aggressive sounding within their catalog that just doesn't get the attention I feel like it truly deserves. That more grindcore fans that like more of the traditional sense of grindcore, not all the technical flashy stuff, could really gravitate towards this more. I mean, it has more of like that brutal truth type of approach to it, but yeah, stellar stuff overall. Now, this is the full-length Jeho, but it's the expanded vinyl edition of it, so it's more like a compilation, because it also has the material they did with Milk Banana and a live recording of a show they did in Tokyo back in 1997, so it's basically a 2-for-1 deal, but it's Discordance Axis, so you can never go wrong with it. As for the layout and packaging, it's double LP on both on plain black vinyl. Obviously you have the artwork right here and the backside for it. And the only other thing that it comes with is this little booklet with it that just has all the lyrics and, you know, artwork to go along with it. And I'm pretty sure all the lyrics that go with this band, from what I've been told, is all about like video games and anime, all nerdy stuff like that, because John Chang seems to be quite the big fan of it. And of course, since I was just talking about it earlier, I have the last full-length they ever did, that being The Inalienable Dreamless. Honestly, I kind of agree with all the hype and praise that this album gets, that it is one of the greatest grindcore albums ever made. And I just love the artwork because it's just so misleading. Like, this artwork looks like something for like some type of like post-rock, ambient, really relaxing type of album, but you know, it's this really crazy madman style of grindcore that's very technical and pulverizing. And I think in terms of the technicality that Discordance Axis is just so known for and respected for, you get that more with this album as to why it gets so much praise. And I honestly agree with it. And I think you know, anyone who knows what grindcore is should be very familiar with this album. But yeah, this is a first press right here. I'm not sure who put it out because there's not much, you know, detail with the artwork. I mean, you have band logo and album title in the front. Back doesn't show anything other than I Will Live Forever Alone. Once again, on a standard black vinyl, but does come with one of these booklets that has all the lyrics and artwork to go along with it. Again, from what I've been told, a lot of these lyrics are all about video games and anime. Proceeding onwards to an LP I don't think I've ever shown on this channel yet, because I got this about maybe a month or two ago when I started doing this whole series. So next up is a compilation LP called Divided We Fall, Heathen Folk from North America. I'm going to read off the bands that come within this compilation, and you guys try to guess which band really sold me on it. So you have Harvest Rain, Destroying Angel, Changes, Dying and Rising, Blood and Sun, Night Profound, David E. Williams, and Changes. Obviously, I got this just for the Blood and Sun side. Every single band on here only contributes one track. And I will say, besides the Blood and Sun stuff, that's just basically Luke Tromazak just singing and doing the guitars, I will admit the Destroying Angel and Harvest Rain songs on here are honestly stellar, and it really got me interested with those guys. So definitely check out Destroying Angel, as it's kind of like the surprise standout for me with this comp right here. And what I really enjoy about this compilation is that it's all neo-folk groups and bands from North America. And one thing I've noticed is that there's really two distinct differences between North American neo-folk and European neo-folk. Because it seems like all the European neo-folks have more of like an attention to detail, with either being spiritual or kind of having stuff to do with tradition and ancient, you know, types of folklore from Europe, that really they kind of gravitate towards that sound and vibe more, and a bit more experimental, I'll admit too. Whereas neo-folk from North America seems to have more attention to detail, with like the backwoods, rural areas you would find within North America that have more of like that bluegrass, campy type of sound that almost borderlines on like somewhat like country, but not like the radio-friendly country, like legitimate like outlaw country to an extent. Like, that's one thing I've really noticed between the two that have distinct differences. But anyway, other than that, the layout and packaging, there's really not much here. It just comes on plain black vinyl. You have artwork. It's limited to 100 copies. I got number 25 out of 100. Oh my god. Yes, finally we get to talk about this album now within the collection series. Next up is the greatest death metal album ever done and made. Dragged into Sunlight. Hatred for Mankind. Hell fucking yes. Easily probably one of the most prized possessions within everything within the shelves of my collection. I adore the fuck out of this album, and my whole obsession started with them when I saw them perform live for the first time in Maryland, and I was at the Ram's Head, that venue, and they literally blew the roof off of that. venue that after they were done with it, everyone was just in disbelief at what they experienced. Like, it's honestly, to this day, still the greatest extreme metal performance ever. Just everything about it was just so perfect. Every little aspect about it. And I remember, I think they were the second to last band for that night. And when they were done, the band right after it was Kraft. Kraft is a very respected, Swedish black metal band that when you hear people talk about them, they give them nothing but a praise. And they are a very stellar band. And a lot of people were hyped for Kraft that night because it was like the second show they've ever done within their musical career. So it was a big deal. But Dragged Into Sunlight's show and performance was just that fucking good that I don't think anyone even cared anymore. Like, Jesus Christ himself could have been on that stage and no one would have given a fucking shit. Because everyone, I remember it so perfectly, when their set was done, I was looking around at the audience, they were all just like in disbelief at just how stellar of a performance Dragged Into Sunlight was. I remember when Kraft went on that night, people were leaving by the dozens because they were just that disappointed with it. Because not only was Kraft just kind of underwhelming, but just so many people just kept talking about Dragged Into Sunlight that the next day of the festival, the Maryland Death Fest, all it was just people talking about their set. Like, I can't emphasize it enough. When these guys perform live, it's truly an experience all of itself, and hopefully I get to experience that again one day. But yeah, this LP right here sadly is long gone sold out, and it goes for just stupid, stupid, stupid money online that hopefully one day, I know they've always talked about it, they will do a repress for it, because it's honestly much needed now. It's not something that people want, it's something that needs to happen, because more people need to get access to this, because it's just a damn fucking shame that it goes for like $400 online from what I've seen. It's so ridiculous. But now, since they're not signed to that shit excuse of a label, I think it's called I think the right way to say it is Prosthetic Records is the right way to say it. I'm not really sure, because every time people try to say it, all I hear is just toilets being flushed around me. So I think the right way to say it is Prosthetic Records. Not really sure. But yeah, if they do a repress for it, I'm definitely going to buy it, because I've spun this so many times that I'm amazed that the LP hasn't snapped in half yet. Which, if that were to ever happen, I would probably go into like a suicidal frenzy, because I can't imagine not owning this LP. But yeah, after all that giant monologue of stuff dick riding this album, as for the music itself, if you haven't heard me talk about it, it's just honestly the darkest and grittiest death metal album I've ever heard. The vocals are just so inhuman. I can just feel like my insides just twist and turn because it's just so guttural and just, eesh, the vocals on here. The guitar riffs are very pulverizing and just powerful, and the drums, I love the drums. They sound like, skulls and bones are being cracked. Just, everything about this is perfect. But anyway, as for the label packaging, you have this gorgeous artwork right here. Backside comes with an insert sheet of the band logo and lyrics on the other side. As well too, comes on a gatefold, and this LP edition comes on white, limited to 300 copies. As for the other material I have by Dragged Into Sunlight, I have their follow-up full-length, that being Widowmaker. Honestly, this is very, very, very underrated and very unappreciated because, again, as you can tell from how I was talking about the previous release, so many people are focused on Hatred for Mankind. I mean, again, it's a mixture of, black metal, death metal, doom metal, and sludge metal all, put together in the most extreme ways possible that is more, concert-friendly in their extreme metal release. Whereas Widowmaker is the slow burner. It has more focus on doom metal, death metal at some aspects, and more experimentation going on here. There's only 3 tracks. Each track is over 10 minutes long, and again, it's a slow burner. It's not really something that's as explosive or as extreme as Hatred for Mankind. And I gotta commemorate Dragged Into Sunlight for doing a release like this, because any other band, if they were to release something like, you know, the praise that it got for Hatred for Mankind, they would immediately follow it up with an album that sounds identical to it to carry on with all the hype and, again, appreciation they got. And to go down this road, being more experimental and artistic, I've got to commemorate for them for that, because no other band would really do that. And, yeah, other than that, other standout features with this release is it just sounds angrier. Because of it being so slow and doomy, the vocals just have more of like actual legitimate emotion towards anger. There's also violin segments within this that just, again, it really has more emphasis and detail with experimentation. Just overall, if you think Dragged Into Sunlight is a one-trick pony that's just all extreme all the time, definitely check out Widowmaker, and it'll definitely make you think differently about them. As for the layout and packaging, you got front, backside. Comes with a printed inner sleeve of just this weird looking artwork, and my vinyl edition is just standard black. And the final thing I have that is Dragged Into Sunlight related is the collaboration between Dragged Into Sunlight and Gnaw Their Tongues, Envy. Oh man, when I saw the teaser for this release right here, I really thought it was a joke. You're gonna have Dragged Into Sunlight and Gnaw Their Tongues collaborating with each other. Like, this is a nightmare come true, basically. Like, I just didn't think it was real at first. And, God, this album is so pulverizing. Like, I guess the best way to describe it in terms of, like, the Dragged Into Sunlight material is think of the material of Hatred for Mankind mixed with the material of Widowmaker. You're gonna have the extreme metal moments and the experimental moments that they did with both releases kind of working side by side with each other. And this album is just so pulverizing in the most creative and demented ways possible within the genre. And the addition of all the sounds and textures and experimentations you'll get with Gnaw Their Tongues just amplifies everything about this release. Like, it is just such a banger of a nightmare, and this album just fucks so hard, honestly. The track on here, Strangled with the Cord, my god, is easily the standout track on this album, but everything about this album is awesome too. Another thing too I want to bring up with this album, I never talked about it, but this album is deemed quite controversial because it has like misogynistic themes going on here, and I know it might have been Metal Sucks or one of those reliable, what is it, metal websites talk about it like, you know, it needed to be blacklisted and it should be, you know, discontinued, blah fucking blah like that. And guys, again, this is extreme metal. You're going to have extreme topics being brought up. If you don't like it, best thing you can do is don't listen to it. That's, in this day and age, honestly, how I look at it, the best way to hurt a band is just don't talk about it. Silence is the biggest enemy towards an artist in this day and age, because any type of, you know, controversy or topic or, you know, discussion with the band is going to give them traffic. So all Metal Sucks did, you made people want it more, so go fuck yourselves. And I got this album immediately overall, because, again, it's Dragged Into Sunlight and Gnaw Their Tongues, but again, controversy will make people talk about an album. You've seen it time and 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 time again. I kind of want to speed by through these next releases, even though I really do like them a lot. My battery on my camera is about to die. But yeah, anyway, next up is by Dråpsnatt, I think is the right way to say it. This is their latest full length, I believe from last year. It was put out through Nordvis. Nordvis honestly has some great bands. If you're a fan of atmospheric black metal, I tend to notice that a lot of the atmospheric black metal bands signed to Nordvis are really stellar. But yeah, it's atmospheric black metal, but it has more of like an aggressive approach to it. Along with the keyboards that give off like a semi-kinda classical aspect that is better than your typical run-of-the-mill types of atmospheric black metal that's just, you know, try to be pretty, we try to add some acoustic works to make it seem all campy and whatnot, where it just comes off, you know, by the numbers. Again, hopefully saying it right, Dråpsnatt, whatever. you know, no disrespect, adds a bit more creativity towards it, and it's a bit more aggressive. So again, stellar stuff. And if you want to get this, go to Nordvis for an LP variant for it. So again, for the artwork, or front I should say, you have artwork right here, backside with the track listings. Standard black vinyl, but comes with this insert sheet with lyrics on one side and artwork again on the other. Next up is quite the oddball considering all the stuff I just previously talked about, but next up is the soundtrack to the movie Drive. Drive is a pretty decent movie that's kind of, in my view, I would consider it like the art house take on an action movie for the most part. Because I mean, you got Ryan Gosling on here always staring out in the abyss like this most of the time. And overall it just has some really kick-ass car chases that's very aesthetically pleasing as the movie kind of comes off. But I really enjoyed the music on this release, or I should say movie, a lot. Because the tracks on here are Under Your Spell by Desire, A Real Hero by College, and what's the other song? Yeah, Night Call is honestly really, really good synth pop that has more of like that nightcore, I guess, take to it. That, I don't know, it's just relaxing for me, and I've really always enjoyed the soundtrack with this movie. Like, I remember one time I specifically watched this movie on a rerun just to hear the music again, because, I don't know, it's just something very soothing to my ears. But, yeah, it's a movie soundtrack, so it's probably easy to get. So you have artwork, backside, comes on a gatefold, double LP, but my variant comes on the semi-translucent orange color. Nearing the end now with this final collection part, next up is the full length by Drohtnung. I believe it's self-titled. This is an Australian depressive suicidal black metal band that also combines harsh noise together, which is typically a combination you don't come across, which really sold me about it back, I believe, in either 2015 or 2016 this was released. And I remember at the time I was also Facebook friends with the guy behind this project. I haven't talked to him in years, so I don't know if he even remembers who I am. That's why right there in that corner I got it signed by him. But yeah, if you ever wondered what depressive suicidal black metal would sound like with harsh noise combined, that it has more of, not so much like the stereotypical like whiny, babyish type of like Happy Days DSBM, but more like angry and miserable sounding DSBM, definitely give this a shot. But yeah, I haven't spun this thing in years, and I might have to later on tonight because I totally forgot I had this damn thing. But yep, you got artwork right here done by the one and only Max Ducardi. Backside, once again on a standard black vinyl, but does come with this insert sheet. I don't know if you can really even see it because the coloring is like this really dark brownish red of the band logo, kind of. And again, lyrics on the other side, which again is impossible to read because the font color for it is just so goddamn dark. Second to last for this vinyl collection part is something, again, another record I've never shown on my channel yet, and I have to give a shout out to one of my viewers. I believe his name's Bradley Spencer, I think. He sent me a comment of a link to this album, and I was really impressed with it enough to buy a copy for it. And that would be this Kenyan, I guess, breakcore, grindcore band called Duma. And this shit is insane. It's breakcore, grindcore, and noise that very, very unorthodox. It's something that I really had no idea music like this was done in Kenya, out of all places, because all the African countries, I don't think I have really anything within my shelves done by any artists within any of the countries within Africa. So it was quite the surprise to hear something like this come from Kenya. And yeah, it's like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like very abrasive, very energetic, sporadic, crazy, noisy grindcore that is similar to that of Horker, but just way more dismal sounding. And gotta give a big thank you to that viewer of mine that commented a link to this, because fuck, I'm really getting a lot of enjoyment out of it. Tracks on here like Angels and Abysses, Corners and Nile, and Kill Yourself Before They Kill You. Yeah, great song titles. Really have a lot of energy, and it's really creative, and I'm definitely going to keep a close ear to the ground with this group's stuff, because this full length right here, they have a lot going for them, and it's very promising sounding. So if you like really weird, experimental, again, like electronic metal music, I guess, definitely check this out here by Duma. As for the layout and packaging, you have artwork, backside with the track listings. This right here is one of the recent represses, and it comes on crystal clear LP. The final album to show within this vinyl collection part is going to be a compilation by Dying Fetus, History Repeats. Yeah, Dying Fetus, one of the first ever death metal bands that I became a fan of back when I was in high school. And not gonna lie, honestly, the band logo is the reason why I became so interested with them, because you have a band name called Dying Fetus, and unlike it being all pointy and jagged and kind of unreadable, theirs is very bold and big to make sure you guys know that they are Dying Fetus. So that's what always interested me about them when I was in high school, and yeah, became a fan of them right from the get-go. But this compilation right here is all covers they did of other death metal bands. Fade into Obscurity by Dehumanize, Unchallenged Hate by Napalm Death, Gorehog by Broken Hope, you got Unleashed Upon Mankind by Bolt Thrower, Born in a Casket, originally done by Cannibal Corpse, and Twisted Truth, originally done by Pestilence. All covers of very respected death metal bands. Dying Fetus did their own take to it, and it's stellar stuff. Other than that, the only other thing to talk about with this release that's quite different is right there is a warning label, and it says, "Do not attempt to play this record in the conventional manner. Both sides reverse play from the inward grooves outwards." So, you know, instead of putting the needle in the outer part of the vinyl like you would typically do, when it comes to this album right here, which as you can see this variant is on white and gray marble, you kind of have to start the needle here, and then it plays out like that, which is quite different and really cool. But other than that, as I just showed you, there's the LP variant for it, and it comes with an insert sheet with lyrics and credits for everything, and just dirty, grimy artwork on the other side. Alright, that's it for this final collection part. So like always, guys, links provided to everything I talked about will be in the description below. And yeah, that is that. So like always, guys, make sure you guys drink plenty of water to stay hydrated, and have a great day.